did they do it to me because I'm a foreigner, or does it happen to actual Americans? I could do with a hand massage and back rub. When you guys say something is close, that does not mean it's close. So today I want to talk about some things that Americans do that are hard for foreigners to understand. I am a foreigner.
I never knew that.
I know, shocking. I don't know, some people seem to think foreigner is a dirty word. It just means somebody from not where you're from. Americans are foreigners to me. I'm a foreigner to you because I'm from Ireland. The thing about culture I love is the little things that aren't so obvious until you get to another place and you realize, oh, they do that completely differently. And I think difference is fun. If we were all the same, it sure would be very boring. Okay, the first thing Americans do that is really hard to understand, and I guess from your perspective, you don't even realize you're doing it because we all do it to an extent. But when Americans do it, it's even more confusing. It's using brand names as verbs, and most of these verbs stem from American language, the American brand names. Now, there are definitely some that have caught on, like I Googled something. You're not gonna say I World Wide Webbed, looked up, or you'll say I tossed a frisbee, I tossed a flying disc. Is just not as catchy. But there are other ones that definitely take a minute or you to have heard it at least once for you to understand what it means, because we use different words in different parts of the world. Xerox, that was probably the first one I came across. Xerox means to photocopy something or to print it. Now Xerox is obviously the brand, so if I was gonna go print something, I'd go print it, or I wouldn't say I Xeroxed it. Q-tip, that's another one. We would just say cotton bud. I think in other parts of the world they say cotton swab, but it's just a cotton bud where I'm from. Q-tip is the brand name. The next thing that you guys do that is super hard to understand is have different licenses for different states. And that's all I'm gonna say about that one because I don't really understand it. If you want to explain it to me below in comments, do. The next thing, you keep changing the rules on tipping. Okay, tipping is something that comes up on almost every list made by foreign people about the USA. And if you'd stuck with the one rules, that would be fine, but they keep changing. Even since I've last been to America, they have changed again. 20%, as I understand it, is the standard tip, but now it's not uncommon to tip more than that if you had a really, really good whatever. Also, it seems from here like you guys are tipping more people than you did last time I was there. Now you tend to tip the person who gives you your coffee, a barista, and you just tip a lot more people. If you could just keep one rule for how the tipping works, we could get on board with it easier. Speaking of financial things and money, yeah, I know this is one that comes up a lot, but it really is confusing how your money all looks the same. But aside from that, something that is even more confusing, why do you have different names for the coins? You know, we'd say 10 cent, 25 cent, but you guys say like a nickel, a dime, a quarter. I have to go learn what those languages. I have to learn what each one means as a foreigner because we just say what they are. Also, on a financial thing, is the trust you guys have with your card. In Europe, for example, you will never give your card to somebody you don't know, whereas it's very common practice, like for example in restaurants over there, to put your card in with your check, your bill. That's another word that's different. We don't say check. Your bill, and they'll take it away. If somebody took my card away from me in Europe, it's because they're robbing it. I mean, theoretically, that person could go tap it on anything. You know, they could double tap that. I know you can look up your receipt after, but that's a lot of hassle. I'm surprised it doesn't happen more in the US. The next one, and I know you guys will have some kickback on this in the comments. It's okay. It's okay if we feel differently about things. I know this is the internet, but in the real world, it's okay. You write the date wrong. That's a bold statement. I said wrong, and I'm gonna stick to that one because we write the day, the month, the year, and that's like the right way to do it because the day is the smallest, the month is bigger, and then the year is bigger than that. I guess it's to do with how you would just say the date. Like I would say, for example, today is the 3rd of February 2023. We're in 2023. When did that happen? But you guys would say February 3rd, 2023. Like, it just seems backwardsy. But is it not logical to go smallest, bigger, biggest. Is that not logical? It's okay to disagree. You're wrong on this one though. The next thing, and I actually understand it now because people in comments have explained it to me a lot better, but it's how you guys turn the air conditioning on rather than open a window. Generally, everywhere outside of America, you go, if it's warm, you'll open the window. Americans have explained to me that by opening the window, they can make the room hotter. However, I do think you go to extremes with the air conditioning. Like, for example, if you're walking around a store, it's absolutely freezing in some places, and people's justification for that is, well, you can put on a sweater, whereas if I'm too hot, well, you could get naked. But wouldn't you prefer to just have like the neutral temperature of the room and people to adjust to that accordingly? Like, you know, they don't have to get naked. They can just take off a sweater. The next thing, oh, this is another one I feel like I really still don't understand. And I guess it's just a job's worth bureaucracy thing. Rules are rules, but also, like, maybe you can explain to me in comments, do these things actually happen all the time? Or, you know, is there really some leniency? Did they do it to me because I'm a foreigner? Or does it happen to actual Americans all the time too? Actual factual Americans. It's carding people who are clearly over 21. Now, to be fair, I'm not talking about people in their 20s, maybe even their 30s, maybe even young looking 40-year-olds. But if somebody comes in and they're clearly 60, 70 years of age, you don't need to card them. You know they're over 21. It really does seem like just a thing that they're doing for the sake of doing it. And I know, okay, the kickback when I say this is that that bar or restaurant or whatever are under like legal obligation to only serve people over 21. But if a 55-year-old man comes in, it's clear he's not 20 years of age. Like, why did they do it in that instance? I think it's just like, I don't know, maybe you can explain it further in comments. The next thing that is so hard for foreigners to understand is that Americans have a completely different perception of distance, and people who've lived there a long time too. When you guys say something is close, that does not mean it's close. It could be an hour and a half away and you're like, it's really close. I'm like, is it? No, that's far. I come from a country where the furthest you can drive from one place to another is 6 hours. For me, I feel like oftentimes if something's more than 15 minutes away, I'm like, oh, it's a bit of a trek. And I know you guys drive everywhere, so I guess maybe if you were walking, like I mostly walk places. If you were walking more, that concept would be different. But even when it comes to driving, you guys, you say like something is close and it's not close, it's far away. And finally, the number one thing that Americans do that is super hard for foreigners to understand is titling your menu courses very differently. And you know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the entree. Entree, entree, entree. How precocious do I sound? Entree is French for entrance. So that makes sense. It's the starter. The entree is the starter. But in America, entree is the main course. How did we get to that? Are we just skipping the starter? Because if you're skipping the starter, sure. But also, you could still keep the entree as the entree and the main course as the main course. In Europe, the entree is the appetizer. Also there, you call condiments what we would say sauces. I'd be like, hi, do you have any sauces? And you guys would be like, condiments? It sounds a lot like condoms, and that's funny to me. Also, refreshment is a drink. So usually in Europe, they'll be like, can I get you a drink? Whereas in the States, you guys will be like, can I get you a refreshment? I could do with a hand massage and a back rub. That would be refreshing. But we get what you mean, of course. So those are 10 things that I think are difficult for foreigners to understand, particularly the first time they go to America. Of course, we are way more exposed to TV and films from America, so we might learn a lot of these things, but some of them still confuse me, especially the money thing. I mean, I've been there a bunch of times now, and I really cannot tell the difference between a $1 note and a $100 note. If I actually look at them, of course I can, but that's it. That's it for today. See you guys on the other side. Bye. If you're wondering where the baby is, he's here. Now, you're in frame. Excuse me, sir, where are you going with my card? That was obnoxious. I'm gonna do it again. I know I'm annoying. I annoy myself sometimes. Theater kid. Budgie, You have been snoring through the whole video. I really hope the mic didn't pick that up. Do you guys think Chewy will ever go to the States? I don't know. Somebody asked me recently on Patreon, and the thing is, like, when I go there, I'm usually filming and working, so it would be really hard. If I went there just for fun, I would totally bring him. But I don't know. What do you think the percentage chance of him visiting the States in his life will be? Let me know in the comments. And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching and stuff and things.